World War II was one of the bloodiest conflicts in the history of mankind. It claimed the lives of over 60 million people, and the aftermath of the war gave birth to many different kinds of conflicts. One of which, arguably the most obscure, was the theater of the absurd. I've been doing plenty of research on the theater of the absurd, using many of well-qualified sources, and that's why I feel I'm more than qualified to speak on this matter. During this presentation, I'm going to discuss how this art form evolved over the years, and how this art form still plays a role in modern theater. But before I get into any of that, I'm going to discuss how this theater style originated. Like I said, it's believed that the absurdist theater movement started as a reaction to the brutality of the war. While few absurdist plays actually mention the war itself, they instead try to capture the feelings that the war caused, such as anguish, hopelessness, and the precariousness of life. They've also been known to provoke the feeling of being trapped, and they've also been known, even though I didn't put it here, to convey the feeling of mass confusion. The absurdist theater movement actually started in Paris. As a result, most of the earliest absurdist plays are written entirely in French, even after they were adopted by other countries. The first wild-scale absurdist production was actually created in 1947 by Jean Genet. It was titled The Maids. Although the absurdist movement began technically in the 1940s, the name the theater of the absurd wasn't actually coined until the late 1950s. Absurdist theater rapidly gained popularity in the 50s, and the common messages associated with the theater of the absurd started to evolve. As the absurdist theater started to gain popularity in Europe and North America, the messages began to change. Many of them still conveyed the message that life was meaningless, but they also became more obscure, so they could kind of leave the meaning up to the interpretation of the audience rather than just, trying to be depressing. A prime example of of what I just said was Waiting for Godot, which I have a video of. So basically, that's a pretty good, summary of what the absurdist theater was all about. There was a lot of confusion. There wasn't really a main point. In fact, there's a lot of critics to this particular play that fumed over the fact that it really didn't have a plot. However, people that supported the play said, and I quote, it's an accurate parable of the human condition in which the more things change, the more they stay the same. That is a quote courtesy of www.theaterdatabase.com. And that's basically what this type of theater has evolved into. It's more up into the interpretation of the audience rather than it is any kind of plot structure. The popularity of the theater of the absurd started to fade in the 1970s. However, I believe that it still has a place in modern theater. Um, Theater of the Absurd was really quite groundbreaking because it defied what was expected of theater at that time. It proved that you don't really need a dramatic plot structure to, create an art form, and it was the first theater genre since the Renaissance era to really prove this. If you look at the play Breath, that didn't really have any plot at all, yet some people say it speaks volumes. Waiting for Godot didn't really have a climax or really following action. It was just two guys waiting for somebody who never came. And that's what this theater form was all about. It was about kind of breaking the mold and leaving it up to the audience's interpretation. So in conclusion, basically I touched briefly on the origin of the theater of the absurd. I talked about its evolution in the years that it's gained popularity, and I discussed its place in modern theater. This was a form of theater that was quite difficult to do research on just because there's so many different interpretations and thoughts on what it's all about. But then that's when it hit me that that's really kind of the point. A lot of questions are raised by each absurdist play, and it's really trying to raise the point that the question really is more important than the answer. So, thank you very much.